Yes.
Got my glasses on.
He's pretty slick. We're usually buying these selling, so.
Yeah. He's very good. Have you ever seen Will act?
He's good.
He's very good.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm all hooked up. So.
Go for it. We just need to. Last one, sorry. I know. It's my fault. You can have your copy. That's your copy.
You want help? You want to let this person in?
Yeah. There should be a way to cross the door.
Hi, welcome. Hello.
Commissioner.
Hello there.
Hello, how are you? Hey.
Oh, let me see that key you got. I had to go sit still and get another one.
Yeah.
While back.
Actually, would you mind grabbing that seat for now? And then yeah. We're going to read this with our laptop up there. Make sure y'all have the other stuff. I put you with the big boys today.
Just can't hear.
She's remoting. We're sitting like we normally sit now. You should be able to get 5 up there, and then the rest of us will sit down here. I've got Lorenzo, James, Coleman, Ben,
Hey, Jessica.
honestly, you'll never run the boat crazy. Oh, really? I was just passing out all that detail. They got this big guy. Okay.
The other one.
Oh, really? Just hold on. Uh-oh. I got lights in.
All of them here.
Chairman, y'all in the dark over there. The light is Jessica.
He just got to turn all over and sleep.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, something drops out of the sleep.
So
Makes one of us have our own private screen.
so how come we ain't got one back in?
We do have one, we haven't installed it yet.
Back, I made my page.
Support, Lenny.
I'm loaded up so I can read. I mean, you know, it's be obsolete, so.
Oh, we got a lot. Because we've had 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I didn't realize what I was printing.
Hopefully, I don't have, I can't afford that kind of heat.
Well, I can really have. Okay. This is how I borrowed this thing.
But if I can, if I can get it kind of,
YouTube is rolling.
We're live.
Yeah, we are.
Okay, well, we need to hit that. Can y'all see that, or we need to hit one of the light switches?
Did y'all hear me? This is on.
We're live.
We're live. The only person doing this is the district attorney. So we'll just turn that light off when she's speaking, and then we'll let it back on again.
Okay, we've got about a minute and a half before we do start. So.
And then I'll have to get up a lot and bring some people in and escort some people out.
How you feeling, Wayne? Good. I'm feeling good. 100%. Oh yeah.
Is Dave here?
Piper.
I think.
Okay. I ain't got to say no either.
Usually he's like.
I'll do it. I ain't scared.
Change the TV.
Hey Sherry. Can you hear me, Sherry?
Oh, okay. We ready to talk?
It's 6 p.m., so we'll call the meeting in order for the Upshur County Board of Commissioners for Tuesday, June 23rd. If we would this time, please rise for invocation followed by pledge.
Lord, bless this group as we come together to work on the budget and the other work of the county. These are tough times and wish everybody could be here with us. Please keep us in our prayers, and we'll keep you in our prayers, and we'll move forward from this day on. Amen.
Please join in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. Next on the agenda, public comments. Did we have some or?
Chairman Allen, we do have one public comment
Okay.
that was submitted, and it is from Robert Williams at 562 David Road. And he wrote a letter as follows. I'm writing this because I have been trying to get some help for a year. This man at 526 David Road bought 30 plus acres beside me. He moved a camper in and out of here. They told him he couldn't live here. He's been run off. Pardon me, it's handwritten, so I'll struggle with it a little bit. I'll do my very best. 2 or 3 times. I have called 8 times about him. The last time they told me not to call anymore. They're not going to do anything. Now he has moved, and the other camper moved in another camper in and built a porch on both of them. He's running a business out of here. There is traffic in and out of here all the time. He claims he's going to build a campground. He has no power. He lied to EMC. They cut his power off. They told him that they did not run power to campers. They told me that he wasn't supposed to live there without power. He tells people how he got the county scared of him. It was his land, and he was going to do with it as he wants to. I know that code enforcement Blunt can't run his job. It looks like all he's doing is drawing a check for nothing. He told me he wasn't going to do nothing. He hasn't got a permit for all of his buildings or these 2 campers that he is living in. He has no sticker in one of the campers. He is not all that. This is not all that's going on out here with him. I don't understand why the county is letting him get away with this. I know there's nothing probably going to be done, but would like to thank you for reading my complaint, Robert Williams. And that's the only comment I have, Mr. Chairman.
Well, we are looking into that. Code enforcement has been out there. And
Yes.
I have other details that I'll share with you afterwards, but we are looking into it. I think some of us have already been out there and looked into it before, so there's 2 sides of the story. Okay. All right, no more public comments. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, we have our work session meeting minutes from June 3rd, our regular meeting minutes from June 9th, and the approval of Three Rivers transit agreement. Jason, just for edification, I mean, this is just a renewal.
It is.
Same terms and everything with the.
Same terms and same amount.
Yeah, so with that, I'll entertain a motion on the consent.
So moved.
Is there a second? It's a motion made by Commissioner Jones, seconded by Commissioner Watson. All those in favor? So it is unanimous.
Motion be second.
Okay. All right. Okay, new business. Item D is appointment to the EMS Council. We have front of you, applications, there's 3 applications and we have 3 vacancies, right?
2 vacancies.
2 vacancies, okay. Thank you. You have the application from County Manager, Mr. Tinsley, Martha M. Hardy, our EMA Director, and Mr. Joe Robinson, who also currently sits on the board. And he is the director for, what's his
He's the EMS director.
EMS director for the animals. So you have 3 applications. Is there a motion on this?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we fill these 2 vacancies with Jason Tinsley and Martha Ann McCarthy.
Could I have a motion? Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
So I have a motion made and seconded to appoint Mr. Jason Tinsley and Ms. Martha Ann McCarty to the Region 4 EMS Council. Are there any other discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote.
I'll call for the vote, Mr. Chairman, in the absence of clerk. Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder?
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Yes. All right. Thank you. Appreciate everybody expressing interest in that and move forward. So now the large thing tonight is the presentation of the mid-year budget. So we'll turn that over to Jason and we'll start with.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, I'll just kick it off with just a couple of statements, and then I'll let Wayne fill in any of the gaps before we bring in our first guest. I thought it would be a good opportunity this year. Obviously, our budget cycle doesn't start for a few more months, but there are some elements of state and or county government that are on different fiscal cycles than we are, and a lot of the functions that you'll hear from tonight are court related. There's a few others, but in essence, their budget start July 1. Now we do have funding for them through the end of the year in our budget based on what they submitted last year. But given the uniqueness of the times, some of the major changes that we've seen to our circuit with the addition of a new judge, I thought it would be prudent for the board to hear directly from the requesters this time. I don't think the requesters, especially from the circuit, have presented to the board in maybe 2 or 3 years. I saw it as an opportunity to have some dialogue. You can hear right from them, and they can also maybe share with you what some of the challenges that they're facing. Because I know, just as you know, we're facing challenges as staff here at the county level. They're dealing with a lot of the same issues too. So that was my thought in bringing them before you today. And, to speak just in general, in a quick summary about what's presented in the mid-year as a whole, I'll turn it over to Wayne, if that's okay, and let him have a few minutes. And while Wayne is addressing you, I'll slip into the hallway and start organizing the presenter. Mr. Chairman, may I ask, is Will on the call?
Yeah, Will was supposed to call in.
We're here.
Did I hear Will? Okay, great. So what, you'll be up first in just a second, Will. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, there he is. Okay, great. So take it away.
Well, just to add a little bit to what Jason already said, it can get a little confusing because the budget presenters today are on the July 1, June 30th year. And, you know, when we compare, we put some information in here just to show how the budgets have tracked for 5 years or so. And it's slightly confusing because of the difference in our fiscal year. So just keep that in mind. But we'll be talking today to the Griffin Judicial Circuit budget, public defender, also the Griffin VA, and we have 2 budgets that are both of mid-year and joint projects, which complicates the also be hearing from the Department of Family and Children Services and Upton County Health Department. And I'm not totally sure yet about the McIntosh Trail CSV. That's who we'll look at today. And all those fiscal years begin July 1, so that's the so-called mid-year budgets that we're wanting to get approved, if possible, by the end of June 30th, so that if there's any payment changes, they can start in July.
Okay.
Any questions from anyone?
Do you have any questions for Jason or Mr. Wayne? All right.
Bill, I got one question.
Yes.
All right, so Pine Mountain Library System, how come we went up and the city went down?
Now, what are you referring to on,
In 2020, 118, 2021, we gotta pay 121. So that's an increase of 36.
well, probably it's to do with the tax digest where we come up with a city-county percentage. And when that changes, it would have some effect. But overall, the budget did not go up as far as their request, but yeah, you're correct. The split between the county and the cities differ based on this down at the bottom there where it shows 65.2% county and
Right.
34.1% city. If we look at last year, that percentage would have been some different.
Okay. Okay, and the Pine Mountain folks and the Gilmore Center folks, they're joint projects, but we've got them coming here tonight because it's a chance for them to present their budgets to us. We're going to do this again with them in joint projects.
Well, to the extent the city council has to be involved,
Yeah.
I think Mr. Jason considered trying to have them here tonight with the social distance and all that.
Right. So they'll act independently on their end.
One got a question. Just, when we look at this, and you got it broke down from basically 2015 through 2019 budget versus the actual. Are they submitting any type of payment or invoice to us or something to us quarterly? How are we dispersing it?
It works a little bit differently. The courts will come up with, once the budgets are approved, they will come up and we'll both agree that this is the amount of payment that will begin in July 1st. And a couple of the courts do submit kind of an invoice to us.
So, all right, so for example, I'm just going to use 2019, just the most current. It looks like, if the budget is for 156, 164, but we actually paid 154,599, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what's being said, and there's two, where there's a difference, there's sometimes two reasons. Sometimes the payment would reconcile and lag into the next period. That would be one reason it might be different. And the other reason, which is more complicated, is the difference in the fiscal years between the two organizations.
I was just looking at, like, when you go back to 2017 especially, the budget was 146,885, but it's actual 113. That's a pretty good difference there. I mean, I'm just trying to make sure. I'm trying to figure out, is that actually what we spent out, even in the carryover? I mean,
Yeah,
they're operating under those. I'm just kind of curious if they're doing budget and they're operating under those things, and we're paying it out quarterly or however we pay that out.
it's usually paid monthly.
Monthly.
Cash request, yeah, every month. Yeah. But if it's okay, will you let me research that particular one a
out there.
Yeah.
We create a budget, they say this is what we gotta have. These, we agree that these are what the monthly payments are gonna be, we're gonna send you those monthly payments. How does their monthly payment come up short? How do we come up short paying them?
Well, what we pulled was what we had paid at the end of our fiscal year. And it's not the end of their fiscal year, since it ends in a different period. And I'd have to show you how that calculation sometimes is.
I guess my question is, are we overpaying or underpaying?
We haven't overpaid, and if there was a difference, we try to reconcile it in the next period. We might withhold a payment if there's a difference. But no, we haven't overpaid in total. We could do a reconciliation to show where that's the case. This just pulled pretty quickly out of the system here, and some of those differences are due to the differences in the two organizations' fiscal year. We're reporting this through December 31, and their fiscal year starts in July and ends on June 30.
That's another question. Come DFAC's always ask for 40 and they never even spend anywhere.
Yeah, that's a question that we're all aware of, and the lady did come up and finally meet with Jason and myself, that's, in my opinion, that's an appropriate question for the board to ask.
You can look back to 2015 and they've come nowhere close.
That's right.
They ask for the same thing every year. They come
That's
nowhere. Like last year, they had 40,000. They only spent $6,200.
Yes, sir, that's correct. We don't disperse any money. That one works a little differently, to answer the question about invoicing. We don't disperse any money until they send us, showing us what they bought.
Right.
And then we reimburse it. But you're correct that it's never come, since I've been here, and I've been here since 2013, and hadn't come close to the 40. So we set aside the 40, but we have not dispersed it to them, though we set it aside in the budget.
Sure. Those are actually direct expenses, reimbursement expenses for foster care for children. So I know that those represent basically clothing and food for foster care support. So and those are on a case-by-case basis, just depending on how many children that are working or through the system at that time.
But sorry, I know you were so quick.
To Commissioner Jones's point, with the 5-year history being, we've only spent a maximum of $18,000. Could we potentially scale that back in this next year's budget to get more in line to kind of the maximum we've potentially spent?
Absolutely.
We're allocating a lot double.
Even if you cut it in half.
Yeah, even if you cut it in half, we're still
They're here
over.
tonight, right?
Yeah, they're supposed to be out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't mind spending money on foster children, and women that need help and everything else. Do not mind spending that money.
So we don't have any ideas of why they are requesting this, but don't ever spend it.
Right.
Okay. Well, they'll be in here in a minute.
And what support they did provide is in your package here, but it's probably not going to be in the detail that we need to know what they actually are going to need.
Okay. Ready to get started with the circuit? How you gonna do this? Just wanna,
I would recommend opening the floor to Will, and he's really got the most complicated budget out of all of it. So if it pleases the chair, I would invite Will to go ahead and I see him smile.
good to see you. Appreciate you joining us, and want to step us through this complicated budget request for the circuit?
How you all doing?
Good.
Yeah, I hope you can hear me okay.
Yes.
Thank you for inviting me here. I apologize for not being there in person. I haven't seen family matter. But yes, we do have a complicated budget. And I just want to ask you to let me go. From a 4% point, when it's there, with 4%, one thing you understand is that there's no being a Upson County was paid by Upson through our grant from the state because he wanted to keep his family insurance. As you know, he's now become a Superior Court judge, and he's also under the circuit conclusion, which means he'll be getting a state debt and also a supplemental help from the Fayette County Board of Commissioners as are CPAs for the circuit. So he just confirmed that because he's on the Superior Court bench, that he's going to not have the supplement for Judge Ott go to county. So this whole budget is going to change. You see a 31% increase. That's not going to be the case now that he has confirmed that he's now in Superior Court and he's going to go another route for insurance, which is the state insurance versus what you all provided. So that's going to change the numbers. Wayne helped me understand that probably about 15 minutes ago. I'm going to call the Fayette County and Texas Judge at the same time. So it is concerning when we look at it at his face that it increased by 31%, but we need some new numbers and if you don't mind with your used to seeing in previous years. The difference is you're not paying him anymore. So the budget went up, we had a fifth judge, and so your credit went down. But as a result of this change, that literally took place 10 minutes ago, it will save some new fee. Tomorrow.
Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Will, do you have an estimate as to or roughly what that impact would be?
They will now be 31% increase, I'm for sure. I'm hesitant to say, I do that third door listening, sending me some numbers as we speak. As soon as I receive my report, I see you Wayne there, hopefully by the end of the meeting.
Chairman, may I ask one more?
Yes, absolutely.
Will, could you cover, and this is just as much for me as it is for the board, like what the potential, and I know you probably don't even know at this point because we're not done with the session yet, but what impacts, if any, state cuts are going to have on this budget and on your budget overall?
It won't for you all. It'll have an impact on the state employees, the secretary, at least two of the law clerk, and the judges and myself. Governor asked 40%. They're hoping that it's 11. But even the judges will have to hurdle this year. They have all agreed in Superior Court, that is, to hurdle 6 days. I'm probably, the secretary will probably put 13 days. Not going to affect you, but it's going to affect the state employees that work for the circuit. Not anyone that's paid by the state.
So, kind of goes to what Jason and I were talking about a little bit the other day, that the fear is that if there's an 11% or thereabout decrease coming down from the state, will there be an effort to pass some of that delta on to us? And that's not currently planned, right?
That's currently not.
Will, one of the questions I had in a conversation late last week about the circuit's budget is that with y'all probably looking at an overall reduction, just very briefly, why wouldn't we see the same reduction on our side, aside from the added expense for the for the additional staffer who's the judge. So or is that what we're going to see? We're going, even though we'll see an increase, that's related to the judge, but all the other expenses will have decreased as a result of the state cuts. That makes sense?
Yes. Yes, sir. Your increase in the as you know, historically all 4 counties provide the bond revenue for the $42,000, which is actually around the state. Every surgeon provides. They, in light of what's going on being sensitive to the budget, they're not increasing, having an increase in their supplement, obviously. But that's the only name of the increase that you will see. The law clerk position that circuit paid for and counties help pay for was already in the budget. This would be the old position that Judge Matt offered. Law clerk that you're used to funding medical records, and when public came aboard, they fixed it this law. So we don't have any currently that's a big thing. Your budget, the burden will be on state employees.
Okay.
Chairman Allen, I would ask one thing. Is there anything that the board would like to, while Will's in attendance of the meeting, that would like, since we're going to get now a revision, is there anything that the board would like to see after you've had a chance to, over the weekend and this evening, review his submission? Is there anything that you feel like it's lacking that he could maybe add to his submission that would help?
I mean, I personally don't know anybody else. It's not really a surprise to us that we're seeing an increase with the fifth judge, but so no other questions or comments. I mean, we'll just go back and approve these individually after all these presentations.
Anybody?
Well, I would see, entertain.
Yeah. Well, and Chairman Allen, one of the reasons that we tried to really wait until we didn't know when the legislature was going to go back, so I was very nervous about approving what was submitted originally because we knew that was going to be a monster revision. And I know these guys are under the gun to keep redoing stuff, and I'm sure all the folks at the legislature, and all the staff are asking them for constant revisions. And my goal was to have, hopefully this would have been settled by now.
Because we are at the.
Well, we're at their fiscal year. We're not at our fiscal year, but we've got them funded at the current level through the end of December. So even if we don't make a move between now and December, they're still funded at that previous level. So it's them that really needs the resolution to it. But their world has been turned upside down in the last week.
And this is going to be the same with the majority of the ones that come in here.
Yeah. Yeah, so to me, it was an opportunity for them to share the struggles that they've been having. And
so would it be your recommendation that we even move on any of these budgets?
No, these are simply presentations.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, Wayne?
That clears it up for me.
Can we make Pike County pay more? Well, can we make Pike County pay more?
Wayne, can you hear me?
Everybody round it up.
Yeah. We want Pike County to pay more.
I think you're talking about Wayne.
He's asking, can we recognize Wayne to respond?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, Will. What, sir?
Yes, he can hear you.
I just want to take the opportunity to let you know what the state has done. And what we look at your court, that didn't cost you guys anything, and I did that last year. Completely have to say, so all that technology, those computers, that great sound system, I took my excess funds on my budget that the state allocation coordinate, and I dumped it into Upson County's courthouse. Make sure we had the most recent evidence related to the So when we can help, when I can get state funds to help us out, I do so, and that was done just last year.
Yeah, and I appreciate you mentioning that. I think it worked out well as far as helping with the proceedings over there. And once we get the roof fixed, then we'll check on it. So, okay. All right. Any other comments or questions for Ms. Simmons? No. All right. Well, thank you for visiting.
Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
If you feel comfortable, you can have my seat right up front.
Where's that? Sit over here?
Yeah, that'll work.
There's a computer though. Is that Marie's computer?
I'll move it.
I don't want her to know that's a computer.
Does that work?
Yes, that's great. Oh, good evening. How are you?
There he is. How are you?
Great.
All right. Appreciate you being here. So,
Chairman Allen, if you, since it's awkward, since not everyone is seeing kind of how we're operating things, I'll just tee it up each time very quickly,
All right.
so that it's a little less awkward for folks that are coming in right out of the hallway. So what we've been doing is, obviously with the massive amount of changes we're seeing at the state level, and the state legislature still not exactly finished with their budget yet. Obviously, we're in receipt of your budget request. And we thought this was the year, an opportunity to, if you had anything specific you wanted to share about your budget, specifically some of the challenges you're facing, anything you might feel would be help to make a decision as far as justifying your request. I think that's kind of what we've been handling it. We just heard from Will from the circuit, kind of broadly going through what he presented, and just give you the opportunity to do the same thing. And then, of course, I'm sure the board probably has a few questions after.
I'll gladly address my budget from the standpoint I can start off by, let me say this, one of the things I balance a lot of factors with what our job requires, but I've always prided myself in trying to be fiscally responsible with my counties when I'm presenting budgets and asking for more money. And if you look at this organization historically, when I took over in 2010, if you go back to 2008 and 9 figures, they were higher than what they were in 2010. I maintained the budget from 2010 until around 2014 at a steady level, asked for a very small increase to get us back to a certain level, but it still did not increase it back to the level that was being paid out prior to me. So I've worked hard on doing that in all the counties. I've maintained, since that increase, I've maintained the budget since 2015 through the 2020 fiscal year at the same level it was, that slight increase. What we've seen over the last few years is a fairly significant increase in numbers, caseload. So the other factor that I always have to consider is my employees, their workloads and caseloads, but also we have clients, and those clients deserve to have adequate representation that's of a quality nature. It's not just a matter of meeting, in my opinion, it's not just a matter of meeting the constitutional standard of ineffective assistance of counsel. I want to provide them quality representation. So I want the numbers on my attorneys to be low enough that my attorneys can spend time working with each and every client to agree that that client deserves. So that factor went in. When I prepared the budget this year, I saw the increase in numbers. I used my percentages to spread it out over where I thought it was needed to be spread. But one thing you need to know, I prepared this budget in December. It was well before we knew about what was going to happen in March. And I do that because I have to present my budgets to Pike and Spalding as early as February. So my Spalding, and it's for the most part, a lot of it is a consolidated budget, except what I do individually for this county, Pike County, and Fayette counties. The Superior Court portion is consolidated, and I have to figure those percentages out, and that's what I've done, because that's where we've seen the increase in the last couple of years. The increase has been primarily in Upson and Spalding counties in terms of numbers. So that's why those figures are, as you see them on that budget. When the COVID-19 crisis occurred and all these things began to change, my heart realized it's going to be tough to ask your counties to give you a raise in such a tough year. I debated withdrawing it, but because of my pride and my fiscal responsibility, but the other side, in looking at the numbers, just have to be honest with you, I have to protect my employees and my clients too. So since I had already presented it to the other counties, I felt like I needed to stick with what I saw was necessary in order for me to adequately operate. And I'm just trusting y'all, and I'll leave it in your hands to make the decision. If you don't give it to me this year, I would ask at least one favor, maybe reconsider it in January. If you can't do it as early as July, and I know July may be tough given the circumstances around the state that we've seen. I'm sure Upson, like other counties, is having a difficult time, as well as the state. So that's the way I view it. That's my presentation to you. Questions? The floor's open to me.
Jason, so how are we looking, or maybe Wayne, how are we looking for the public defender's office for the rest of this year? I mean, so
We pay as a contract.
right.
Yeah, so
I mean,
they're not an actual expense, it's a contracted amount.
if we incur this increase, are we going to be amending our budget? Or
Yes.
Are we going to still be able to come in under budget?
Any one of these, we have.
You know, we're not, Jason and I have started trying to analyze the revenues, but it's a little difficult. We're not totally sure how those are going to act, you know, for the remainder of the year. But we'll have a little
Mr.
visibility.
Chairman, I'd just like to remind the board that, currently, we don't know the impact of what's going to respond. We don't know what the state's going to do. We don't know what's going to be mandated back down to us through this 11% budget. We've asked each department head to cut their budget by 5%. We've put hiring freezes on and capital expenditures freezes on. So, it's not that I'm not sympathetic to the issue, but I don't want to spend money I don't have in the bank yet. I think that through and this is one of our larger ones of this budget. This is the largest one actually. I just don't know. We have no idea when the state's going to come out with something, do something. Like
We do know that in the Senate version of the budget, there are some pretty drastic cuts to some of our major revenues, our shared revenues, like our local, our LMIG program. I know that in the Senate version of the budget that the FLIPA grants have been cut. And that's both of those are top 10 revenues for us. I realize the LMIG revenues are dedicated to a single purpose, but the FLIPA reimbursement grants are not. That's general revenue. So no, we don't know either.
And of course, the public defender and I had a long, good conversation last week, and I kind of clued him in as to where we were as an organization, measures that we had taken. He at least listened to me.
Percentage of this is this increases in salaries, increase in salaries.
That's,
All, this 20,000.
that is, the increase, I've managed over the years to give them somehow within the amount of money to be able to do some things. The salary increases that occurred and are mentioned in that budget are being covered without asking you for any increase. That increase is solely for me to hire one new lower level or entry level attorney. That's it. That's it. The salary increases, because I've had a lot of attrition in attorneys because our salaries are so low over the years. But I've managed in the last 2 years to do some things. I've gotten salaries up where I think I've got everybody happy. Gave some salary increases in this budget. Those salary increases that were given in this budget were done without having to ask you for more money. So that part's accomplished. Only thing that proposal's for is to give me another county-funded additional personnel, which will be an attorney. I'm not asking for an admin or investigator. I'm actually asking for an attorney because of our caseload numbers. We'll stick it out with the number of admins and investigators we got, which is low, but we'll stick it out. I need an attorney worse than I need anything.
And overall, I mean, it's not, it's a large budget, but the increase is not as significant as others. But am I interpreting you to say that you made a statement earlier that, could you give us some time? Could we look at this a little bit later down the road? Continue funding what you are, and like you said, if you give us the end of our fiscal year to see what the state's going to do, how we're going to be impacted, and if the dollars are there, I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah, that was my comment. I'd like to see us get to the end of our year and budget this for our next budget. I think that gives us a little bit more time to assess where we're going to be. And I agree. I think some of these items on a lot of these are definitely justified. But I would like to see them as a part of our next year's budget, and not try to amend anything at this time.
And I understand the difficulties with budgets. So when you make that proposal to me, if y'all will table this and consider it as early as maybe January when that rolls around, I'll certainly come back when it's talked about it then. I'm not.
We'll approve our budget before
Before
January.
January,
When we approve our fiscal year budget, we can put these numbers in
And
include it to make sure that we're, and then, unless something unforeseen happens, the biggest thing that just scares me is if the state asks agencies to cut back, those agencies, we're a source of revenue, let's face it, we're a source of revenue, so they're going to come to their source and go, we need a little extra. So we don't know how much extra we're going to have, to give everybody.
And that's, obviously, we fight that battle every year with about every function that we provide.
Good. You good?
I'm good.
You're always good. Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all very much. Thank you, sir.
See you next year.
I will see y'all then.
See, not bloody to better.
Good evening. I'm good. How are you?
See,
Nice to see everybody.
now that you're all official.
I know. No longer acting. I hated that. Acting. I
Well,
do.
listen, Jay Jason, did he tee it up for you out there?
No.
Yeah, you might want to let me tell you that real quick before you start.
Okay, I have to open this anyway.
That cord came out earlier, so I don't know if it's still pushing it or not. You blame Alan Adams for that.
Do I need to get,
Do some more reading.
Maybe out
can
there.
I just be? And
We're waiting for you to tee it up for us.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I knew they had to get set up. So, Mr. Chairman, if I may, and again, it's awkward when people leave and some people come in and they're like, oh, we have no idea what's been going on here. We've just been given everyone the opportunity to talk about their budget in general, some of the challenges that they're facing. Again, we're facing the same challenges with an uncertain state budget, which is uncertain as of even right now. A lot of what has been presented this year in these circuit budgets are increases when, the guidance we're giving to the rest of the county are decreases. We're not doing anything about furloughs, but we are doing hiring freezes. We're doing capital project freezes, and we're taking some other measures. So, in the context of that, we thought this would probably be the best year to, have some open dialogue with all the board members about, just a quick overview of the function, the challenges, why you're asking for what you're asking for.
Great,
Yeah.
great. And my name is Marie Broder. I'm originally Marie Green. I'm from Thomaston. So I've been with the district attorney's office most of my career. And I've been with this circuit since 2012. I prosecuted another circuit before that, and I spent a very brief amount of time in civil practice. So your circuit, as I'm sure most of you know, have 4 counties: Fayette, Spalding, Pike, and Upson. I have presented to the other 3 counties, so you're my last one.
That's for last.
That's right. Stay home. Right. We are facing some interesting challenges in the district attorney's office right now. Obviously, we're facing state budget cuts. The difficult thing for me with the state is 98% of my budget is personnel, which means furloughs are going to be unavoidable for me because almost all of that budget hits my salary directly. Most of those are attorneys. I do have 1 investigator and 2 secretary positions that are state paid. The rest of them are attorneys. The 2 ADAs down here in Upson County are state paid assistant district attorneys. So I do expect that Upson County will be directly affected by the state budget cuts. I did bring 1 here today with me. This is Ashton Fallon. She's assistant district attorney in my office. Mark Urban planned to be here. He's sick, so he's not. I'd like to go in to kind of tell you a little bit about who we are. The investigator position has changed. Actually, we brought in Stan Phillips from my Spalding, he was in my Spalding County office. Stan has over 20 years of experience in law enforcement, is that correct? And frankly, I needed that experience down here in Upson County. I was lucky enough to spend over a year here as the ADA down here. So I realized that the cases that we were seeing in Upson County were extremely serious. The levels were a lot higher than I realized, and I'll show you those numbers here in a little bit, but Upson's on par numbers-wise with Fayette County. So we are rising in a way that we definitely don't want to see, and that is the increase in criminal cases. Now, I will say, and I'll point this out a little later when we do talk about numbers, that we do handle a lot more courts in Upson County than we do in Spalding and Fayette, and that is a reason for the increase in numbers, but the caseload in Upson is growing, and we cannot ignore that. I do have Shirley Reeves as a victim advocate and Lori Harper, and we just brought on Hannah Kennedy as a receptionist. One of the increases, and I did take into consideration that you all I know are facing a daunting task, and so understand that my request here for a part-time investigator, Pike County has agreed to fund their portion, but y'all have been sharing an investigator with Pike County. I don't know if y'all realize that. Pike County has a part-time investigator, and we've had a part-time investigator down here. Y'all need, and we need in Upson County, 2 investigators. There's no getting around it. If we don't do it this year, it's just something that I'm going to come back and ask for again next year. I'll talk to y'all a little bit about some of the future challenges that I see, but this investigator right now, you're sharing him, and that's Stan Phillips with Pike County. Upson stands as far as caseloads are concerned, and I sent this electronically. I do my budget in an Excel spreadsheet that I did send as to the request and lay out all of the employee expenses for y'all. But y'all have about 21% of the caseload across the circuit. Again, you're on par with Fayette County, and Fayette County you have a third of the staff down here that Fayette County has. So I'm asking these employees to do the work with a third of the staff that Fayette has. In Superior Court, we have 833 open cases, felony misdemeanors, probation revocations. We're going to talk a little bit about the numbers for juvenile court cases, magistrate court cases later. Those are not included. That is just Superior Court. So here you have 833 cases in Superior Court. Fayette has 949 open cases in Superior Court. So keep in mind the 833 number that you're looking at, that does not include juvenile court, magistrate court, municipal court, and probate court. Spalding, of course, has my highest caseload. We're talking about 2,000 open cases there. I mean, that's just the busiest county we have as far as crime. And we've, thankfully, with the help of Spalding County, been able to increase the number of employees that we've had there over the years. And then, of course, Pike. So we handle about 49% of our caseload is Superior. Municipal is about 23% of the caseload. Probate court, the county is about 13%, and juvenile court is 6%. I didn't know if y'all were aware that we were staffing all of those courts. So I did want to put those numbers up there so you know that that is handled by 3 ADAs. All of that work right there. The total case count from all courts that we have is 1,680. Keep in mind Spalding is at 2,000. And I have 3 ADAs and my chief ADA in Spalding, and so we have 2 down here. The types of cases that y'all are seeing, I hate to see it in, a place that I consider home, but we have been hit by methamphetamine like I've never seen. And that is a reality that we as an office are having to face. When you have the high number of felony drug cases, the 41%, what you're seeing is this number's going up. Your felony personal, so your murder, your armed robbery, your ag assaults, your shootings, that type of thing, that's going to increase as that drug addiction increases, and that's what we're seeing. I mean, I think all of our shooting, most of our homicides over the last year have been related to methamphetamine. Oops. I've already made point 1. The numbers alarmed me, and that's why I wanted to come to you all with them. We took on the juvenile court position 2 years ago. It used to be a contract position. Every case that comes in our office is worked by an administrative assistant, a victim advocate, an investigator, and an ADA. So what I ask these ADAs to do is they come into work, and I ask them to prepare cases that as the warrants come in. And then when the warrants come in, they work with an investigator to get that case ready. And this happens at least 833 times. The city and county court cases don't need quite as much work. And then they're fielding calls from law enforcement. We also do a lot of training with law enforcement, so they're fielding those calls as well. They are running court for me, and they have kept that up in a very difficult time. So I'm very, very proud of them. Court has been a challenge, but we've all been working together to make sure that we keep running. Here are my needs that I'm asking for. The investigator, part-time investigator, I talked to you about, that's part of the increase. I'm also asking for a slight increase for Lori Harper, who has been with our office several years now. She is a machine and an incredible employee. In my spreadsheet, I documented just how much of an increase I'm asking for. But she deserves much more than that, but I just would ask that you all consider that request. Before I talk about number 2, I want to talk to you about number 3. IT in the county has indicated that we have to update our computers. They are 8 years old. We are no longer compatible with the county's system. So, and that happened 2 weeks ago. So when I submitted the report, they were telling me we just had a couple of months, and now we're done. We're no longer compatible. So I am asking for $4,000 to update my computers. That's not all of it. I'm going to have to find more money to cover. The quote from IT here is $5,600, but I'm asking you all just for $4,000 to help me out on that, and I'll use grant money to fund the rest of it. Office space. I don't necessarily have a solution for this, but it is a big problem that we have. We're out of room. We have no room. I would like an office in Thomaston. I do try cases here, and I don't have one. Currently, I work from the conference table. We are lucky enough to have 2 interns that will start with us next week. Yes. And so I will be sharing a conference table with a college intern and a law school intern. That poses a big problem for me when I'm down here trying to work with them and give them assistance. So we are out of space. This is one I don't have a solution for. If you all have space available or space that you would consider to be available, I'm just asking for an opportunity to discuss that because it is a problem. These are not requests I'm making now, but I always like to let my commissioners know what is coming down the road. With that, I mean, y'all see the caseload. I'm going to have to come to you and ask for an additional attorney at some point. It's unavoidable. Right now with Mark and Ashton, they're already carrying caseloads that are much higher than other counties. They're averaging anywhere from 400 to 500 cases just on them alone. PAC, this is an unrealistic goal, but PAC says for no more than 250 cases per ADA. That's what every ADA can manage. Obviously, they're carrying more than double that down here. So at some point, I'm going to have to come to you and ask for an ADA. I'm going to also have to come to you and ask for an additional victim advocate. Shirley, while Rick does some victim advocacy, it mainly falls on Shirley. Shirley's amazing, and she never complains. But in Fayette County, where your numbers are comparable, they have 3. So just so you see kind of what we're looking at down here. I'm finishing up. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you all. I know you have a lot to do tonight. I understand that I am working with as many revenues that I can, streams of revenue to keep everything rolling. It's something I know that keeps y'all up. It's kept me up. I don't want to have to furlough if I can help it. But it looks like at this point I will have to at least furlough somewhere around 10 days this year. That means that all of the work that we've put in to eliminate the backlog will go on a calendar. I have 2 ADAs that are already overworked, and I'm going to ask them to do even more with less. So I appreciate your consideration. I'm certainly open to questions if I can answer any.
I have a question. I think we're kind of telling everybody this, but our fiscal years are obviously off.
Right.
Y'all are to June 30th and ours is to December, so a lot of the requests are definitely justified and potentially something we can look into, or in my opinion, look into when our next fiscal year comes up. So by the end of this year, potentially put some of these things in our budget.
Right.
But one thing that jumps out, and maybe something we might have to move on tonight, is the IT.
Yes.
I mean, to me, operating with 8-year-old computers is like operating with 50-year-old computers. I mean, it doesn't work. So if IT is saying it's a must to replace those computers, and in a few months they aren't going to be compatible with the software.
They're not now. When I submitted the request, they were telling me that, but now, today, Commissioner Watson, I'm sorry to interrupt you,
Yeah.
they're no longer compatible.
Okay. And you're saying, that was one of my questions, but you answered it before I asked it. The $4,000, is that for that portion of it?
Yes, that would be the portion I'm
For
asking
the
you to
computer.
cover. The quote that I had from them was $5,645. I will tell you that we did a lot of work on this. I first reached out to PAC because PAC used to service all of our computers, and that's where we ordered them from. The quote was over $10,000 for them to do the same. So I reached out to Robert and Brent and asked them if they could do any better, and they gave me a quote that was half, and that's better than what we could do. We even looked at buying them on our own and seeing if that was cheaper, but by far the best quote was from Upson's IT. And the good thing about that is if they install them, if they're the ones that know what the product is, then it's easier for them to come in and fix them when we have problems.
And this is a question for Wayne, I guess, would we have to amend our budget just to include, even if it was the $4,000 for those computers?
I don't think at that price level, we would normally do an amendment, so, I mean,
Well, that was
technically
my
could.
question for Jason, is there money in the IT
Yeah.
budget?
Because I personally, I would like to see us address that.
Probably wasn't planned.
Yeah.
Probably, it probably wasn't planned for IT. I don't know if they factored in some contingency money in their budget, but we'll leave it to you to come to us if you need to. But it sounds like we need to do something.
That's definitely something that we can handle administratively.
I appreciate it. It's a dire need.
And Jason, this is a question you,
Yes.
does our IT department currently support them
Yes.
there? And are these, our computers that we placed in, these were computers run in from the state or something?
Right, Commissioner Allen, so they came in from PAC 8 years ago. And PAC,
Prosecuting
Prosecuting
attorney.
Attorney's Council.
Thank you.
I was
So they're the Prosecuting Attorney's Council. They are really a lobbying arm. They do all of our training. They also pay the salaries for our employees. They don't pay it, but they actually do all of the bookkeeping for us, most of it anyway. So they are the ones that used to service our computers several years ago. They actually had somebody that would come down and do it. They don't do that anymore. And so that's why it makes more sense. Not only is the quote half of what they gave me, but Brent and Brad and Robert, the ones that are coming in and servicing the computers.
And is, Jason, is that something we can, I mean, obviously with all the different departments in the county, I mean, can't we build that budget on something like that, about the computers need replaced? I mean, that has to do with Linda's stuff going out.
Yeah,
I mean, that we kind of should have known the inventory of what we had. What
It is.
we replaced, and kind of,
And I have a comment to that, because that's a good point. Usually, and we may have this in place, I'm not sure, but especially technology, there's every 3 years across the board, there's potentially, and it makes it to where you don't have to at one time completely redo your technology. And I don't know if they have that in place.
And the reason we have a computer refresh program, and that's a designated SPOS item. The reason that their office wasn't included in that is that their computers used to be provided by state funds. There.
Okay.
Right.
That brings up another question too. I mean,
And it is state property, so they're not, I guess they would have to go back, right?
I think when they back, they
I guess they can donate.
recycle that.
Drop it with my
somewhere, yeah. It's useless for our purposes.
so
Another little cost shift.
I've heard some grumbling about furniture down there.
Oh, no, we're good now. now.
Okay.
We're good now. Probation donated a lot of their old furniture, and so we're good on that front.
All right.
We're happy.
Scratch that. All right, and I had one other question about, so you provide DA functions in municipal courts? That's a funding question for you then. Do cities, does the city pay for
I
that?
guess they do it contractually.
They do, right, it's a contractual position, so they do.
Okay.
And then, you know, we also have probate and juvenile that comes out of our general budget that would pay those attorneys to do.
So it's about 20%, I think I saw that chart, so about, all right. So they're paying for the pie too.
Well, yes, the small.
Well, what questions they paying that fair share?
That's something that I plan on renegotiating with the city when the time comes. Commissioner, yes. I mean, I think it's up for renegotiation, and this is the year to do it. So it's definitely a conversation how we have it in the fall with them.
You mentioned office space requirement. What's the footprint we need as well?
So ideally, great question, Commissioner. Ideally, I would like to be able to grow, to have room to grow. So I would say we would 10 offices. I'm looking at action.
Yeah, we need at least 3 more
And,
than we have, and we have, I think, 6 now, so 10 would be,
and I need a conference room as well.
yes. Because the conference room she's sitting at with 2 interns, we also have victims come in and witnesses for trial to meet with them before grand jury. So we have to kick her out, and the interns have our meetings, they come back in. It's kind of fruit basket turnover.
So, and that's not a part of the request, the dollar request here?
No.
Well, I'm wondering if, so,
It's more about, I wanted to discuss it to see if y'all had any options.
Well, I think it's something we need to take this to workshop. I mean, we're always addressing spatial needs and trying to figure it out. And I know, at least I believe, all this was taken into account when we had those studies done. I'm looking at her because I think she was probably around involved in those spatial needs when we were doing new court needs.
We did, we met with them and discussed how many offices we would need, that sort of.
I would encourage you to get with Jason or perhaps me, and let's go back and look at that number
Sure.
to make sure that it's still relevant.
That'd be great.
Because I know it's something that we're going to address here at some point.
Great.
So,
Yeah, that number's probably increased since, because that was what, 3 years? 3 years ago?
well, yeah.
So I think that number's probably increased.
One comment. No questions. Best presentation.
Oh, thank you.
I'm telling you, you set the standard. You should have come in first. No, then we would have been.
That was one you would expect outside of county government.
Thank you.
That was wonderful.
Jason. The bar has been set. Wayne. Thank you.
All right.
Thank y'all very much for what y'all do.
I love the bottom line. But, I mean, to the point, what you need. Thank you. Appreciate what you do.
Thank
More
y'all.
than you know. I appreciate what you do. Because,
Any other questions?
But I'll never need you.
We're here if you do. Well,
Thank y'all very much.
thank you, Commissioner Watson and Manager Tinsley, for helping us set it up. I appreciate it. I'm gonna say have a good night. This is long for y'all, right?
yeah, just let the, those numbers.
You want me, will you go back there and I'll share?
Chairman Allen, I think we're gonna, we'll go ahead and,
recognize Sherry from the health department. She's been hanging on.
Okay.
Yeah. And Sherry's had the benefit of listening the whole time, so she.
Hey, Sherry.
Hers is pretty easy.
I sure wish they would come in and sit down.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Tim.
Okay.
So, you probably have been listening in, so, I won't give you the same spiel that I gave everyone else that's kind of been going in and out of the room, but, you know, just share a little bit about your budget submission to the board. And of course, we know the challenges you've been having, because we've been talking to you weekly, if not daily. So, and before you get started, just me personally, and I know I speak for Chairman Allen and everyone in the room, thank you for helping us and the whole community, but specifically us with our organizations. We've had to modify so much, I mean, you can just see by the way the room looks. You know, we've had to modify so much, and you've been a big part of helping us decide how to manage that and helping us through all that, so thank you.
It's something to have to learn together every day, so. Sometimes it changes every hour, doesn't it? You can see from my request, our request is no different than what we requested over the past few years. And Miss Teresa McDaniel is on the phone as well. I think she was trying to dial in, but she's not there to speak. So we're requesting the $2,873 that we requested in the past few years. That budget covers 64% of those expenses are for our salary and fringe benefits. So what we do here in the office is throughout the community this year, we've been covering the COVID crisis, of course, but you know, we cover all the preventive health care needs of the communities and try to help and support the schools and anyone else who needs help. We're doing a tremendous amount of work here with just a little bit of people, and we need all the people that we can get. We tried to save money for the county by sharing my position and sharing our environmental health manager position with neighboring counties. So that helped save a tremendous amount of money to put it back towards the care of the community. The website can say, we're here to answer any questions that you may have.
I mean, you know, it's always suspicious when the numbers don't change year after year. So, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just, you're working some kind of magic over there, because, I mean, your budget has not changed since 15, and that's as far as we go back. Is that right? So,
Probably longer
Just
than
learn to manage our money well.
yeah, okay. Well, in light of everything else, is there anything you need that's not part of the budget? I mean, that's not saying, I'm not giving you a credit card. I'm just saying, I mean, you know, it's kind of like what Ms. Brody just did. I mean, are there any long-term things that you see coming that we may need to be aware of?
We're really pretty well, you know, we're looking forward to the flooring in the office to update the office a little bit. I think we need always a consistent change each year, but we're staying pretty up to date on that. I think the building maintenance is just, you know, buildings get older, and so each year we're looking at different things to improve there.
Okay. Well,
Did that answer your question, Chairman Allen?
yeah, I would just encourage you to, continue to look 5-10 years down the road when it comes to facility maintenance over there, so that, we can program that stuff. And I know you are. So the floors have not been done yet?
The floors are going to be done after July 1st. And that's because of our budget, the way our budget is.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
Okay, approving this. I mean, we'll move it away from it's not need to cut
payments. Thank you. Unless somebody has anything else.
I don't know.
Sherry,
We're not
appreciate you.
recommending a reduction.
Appreciate y'all and keep me straight.
Chairman Allen Sherry called me personally to tell me I didn't have COVID-19.
Well, thank you.
I'm well glad.
Call us all with that. All right, thank y'all. All right, we'll move on.
You all have to come get a test for you, did you get
When you come up with one that's not as painful, maybe I'll be over there. All right, so we'll move on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sherry.
Jason.
Next would be McIntosh Trail.
All right.
So I will tee it up for those of you that have had to socially distance in the hallway. We saw this as a good opportunity this year, as we're all dealing with very heavy impacts to our budgets with the current state of the economy, the state budget, and a great bit of flux and undecided. And we thought that this year would be the year, especially with our mid-year requests, as we call them, to get each of the requesters an opportunity to present to the board, and then the board to interact with any questions that they may have. Again, we're just presenting tonight, just to be fully transparent. I mean, at the county level, we're under a hiring freeze, we're under a capital expenditure freeze, and we've given our department's guidance for 5% cuts beginning January 1, which is when our fiscal year starts. So, with that being said, please take the time. If there's anything specific you'd like to mention to the board about your submission, trends that you're seeing, issues that you're having, now would be the opportunity to share that with them. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll hand it back to you.
Teed it up perfectly. So,
And if y'all want to sit here, I can move to the back.
So the request is for the same amount as 2019.
So, Chairman, I do want to just ask real quick, are we specifically talking about McIntosh Trails Counseling Center, or are we talking McIntosh Trails Gilmore Center?
Both, sir.
Okay. All right, so I do want to make that clear, and I appreciate y'all giving us the opportunity to talk and kind of explain what we are and who we are. So, many of you know the Gilmore Center has been here for a very long time, and the county and the city have both supported the Gilmore Center for years and years, as well as I know the Counseling Center too. So, 2018, the Gilmore Center was transferred under the umbrella of McIntosh Trail Community Service Board. Gilmore Center became a site of McIntosh Trail Community Service Board. That Community Service Board is an entity, it's kind of a quasi-governmental entity that up until I think 1993 was a complete state entity that operated as the state safety net for substance abuse, mental health, development, and disabilities. So fast forward to now, we operate in that same capacity as the state safety net, but with a lot more things as compared to 1993 under the umbrella. And as I said, Gilmore Center is now under that umbrella, operating as an MAC Trail site. So we do want to make sure we keep the two separated when we look at our requests. I know that Gilmore Center is a joint project, and so I want to, me personally, I can speak to the Gilmore Center. I've got joining me Ms. Amanda Brown, she's our IDD director for our intellectual and developmental disabilities programs, and Ms. Stephanie Jackson, our CFO CEO. So we've got a good spread here, and I think we could probably answer questions on both sides. But me personally, I can speak towards the Gilmore Center and its programmatic runnings and this and that. So, any preference on which we'd like to discuss first?
Well, I'm just kind of confused, Wayne, Jason, on this sheet, because there's nothing for Gilmore Center on here. So is that Gilmore Center built into this request for McIntosh Trail CSD?
So, Mr. Chairman, just to do some background, if you may remember remember back to our joint projects meeting from last year,
Right.
there had been some, we had made several requests for a detailed line item budget from them, which I still don't think we have received yet. And part of that also included a request for the development of an agreement, which I did actually include in your package. I think the city attorney was working on that and was just able to provide it. But so for the lack of the submission, we have not been funding the Gilmore Center since the adoption of the joint project. So
And that was just this past year.
that's right. So
So is there,
believe we were in receipt of yet another letter for just a single. If I remember the letter, it was just a request for a single amount. It was not itemized or detailed. So we did not move that forward only because of the feedback we got last year. So
Yeah, one small sticking point was that the last approved budget that the city council and the board approved was, I think, at a level of $113,521. And the request came through last year, and it was at 121,000 whatever. And we believe, and I think that was addressed in the city attorney's letter, we believe that difference was because the city actually kind of overpaid their part, is how I'm thinking that Ms. Jackson came up with the 121. But anyway, there was an increase, in other words, and we were just looking at asking for the details to support whether the request was for 113 or whether it was for 121. I think Ms. Jackson, you can correct me please but I believe in kind of narrative form you did explain somewhat what you were looking for in terms of automobiles and
Right.
personnel and that.
We submitted the detailed budget item to the city and the county, and I think during the December meeting that you had, Thomas, y'all presented it as well, right?
So yeah, we do have where we separated it out with salaries, benefits, community activity client costs, as well as replacement of vehicles. And I can read that out if I don't know if anybody has that, but I have that.
Wayne, do you have it?
No, I don't believe I have
That
that.
was, I think that was sent last in July to you and to Mr. Tracy. And it has a detailed split up between the salaries and the benefits.
July 2019.
Yes,
Oh.
and
Yeah,
I re-forwarded it a couple of times as well to you all.
So does it total back to a budget?
It totals back to 121,282.
Okay.
And that's 56,000 for salaries that are unreimbursed. For benefits, you're looking at 27,700.
Yeah, I would just ask that all, we find this line item budget and get that back to us. I mean, because we're not approving budgets tonight. This is just for clarifying a lot of this. So you know, we are used to seeing line item budgets requests, not you know, just so we'll find it. I'm sure y'all will find it.
And please determine if, since the last approved budget was 113,000, whether you are requesting an additional amount. And if it adds to 121, so you'd be requesting an additional amount from what was previously approved.
So with no budget being approved, we're not paying anything right now.
Right, not on the counseling center and not on the Gilmore Center either. The counseling center, it was $75,000 every year, and last year we requested $78,000 because we wanted to exchange some of the furniture that are in the lobby that are worn out, and we have not received any of that either.
What's counseling center, Jason? Was it, I thought that it was an agreement issue, wasn't it, that we had some sort of agreement in place, or?
Yeah, it was definitely an agreement. We requested an agreement. And I do see in the emails here, that went back and forth, and this was from, Mr. Senator Sarah Spencer, non-revenue positions. And it says something about field trips, wheelchair vehicles at $28,000, $50,000, depending on age and mileage. But I think we had asked for a list of things like, number one, was a detailed expenses, not just what you're asking for us, but what portion that we're going to give you, how it is incorporated into your budget. I think, well, referring directly to the Gilmore Center, we asked for a number of local Upson County residents that are participating in that program. And from these emails that I see going back to July 15th to 19th, I don't see any of that information provided.
I think there was in between several meetings that were had and where it was discussed in person, and then an agreement was requested to be drawn up, which we did, and it was sent to the city attorney, who has had it since I think December for review.
It's the Gilmore Center?
Yes.
For the Gilmore Center.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's accurate.
It was my understanding when we met in December that we would do the contract and not the line item budget for the Gilmore Center.
But the draft of the contract that came back from the city attorney still required the line item.
And I had
And it also had the provision that none of the funds provided by the commission or the city council could be for the provision of services or anything else to out-of-county residents. And I think, I do remember in our discussions, in our in-person discussions, we had asked you that was any of the local funding going to non-county residents, and if I remember, at that time, the answer was yes. But you were willing to make that commitment moving forward that it would not be.
Yeah, from the meeting we had in December and with the agreement is essentially a service delivery agreement, and it spells out county residents specifically. I want to say the first number that was thrown out was 30, because we're at 43 individuals, 33 of those are in-county residents, and 10 of those are out-of-county residents. So we did, want to make sure that we committed to serving in-county residents, that being our priority. Just want to explain too that we do provide a group service, so it is billed by a group of 10 or less, one or more. And as you get other people, it does offset the costs of having 3 people versus 6 people. So 3 people from out of county do offset the cost of having just 3 people from in county. So at the end of the day, having those people from outside of the county does help the Gilmore Center, and it does, hopefully eventually let us ask for less money from now on.
Right, but you understand, I think we've said it several times, the issue at heart is using county taxpayer money to provide services for non-county residents.
Correct.
You can't do that. So we just got to figure out that piece.
Well, and I think the agreement was specifically for, this is the amount of in-county residents, and that's the budget for in-county residents, and the out-of-county residents basically are not being funded.
That's fully the responsibility of McIntosh Trail to cover that.
So this agreement's with the county attorney?
City attorney.
I wouldn't see it.
I know Mr. Joyce asked a question about it 2 weeks ago, so I know they're looking at it.
Okay.
I don't know where it's at.
Okay, well.
They did provide the county with the draft of it and asked us for some feedback, which we gave them. So I know that between the 2 attorneys, their attorney was given the lead on it. So we provided the staff feedback to it, and we did send it back to them Thursday of last week, so I'm assuming that they'll be ready to share it with you at any time. The commission does have a copy, a draft copy in their packet, but it will require that all the current draft of the agreement requires still a line item submission. It requires that all funds be expended only for residents in county, and it also requires provision of your annual audit, I believe.
Is that something that we're gonna get response to? 'Cause
Yeah,
I
you
think
should be
as of
getting
right
it.
now, we have not.
You haven't received it yet.
Mhm.
Yeah. So probably, like I said, the city asked us for feedback on it. We gave them some feedback on it. Same day, submitted it back. So
Do we know, because the meeting happened in December and it's now July, what was the delay on that?
We did not fund. We not fund.
I'm saying on this agreement.
The city attorney kept, I think the city attorney has had it since December.
Yeah, I know we sent it at the end of December.
it's gone back.
I haven't gotten anything substantive with that.
Sounds like we got some homework to do, all of us.
So, all right, so set Gilmore Center aside, let's talk about, McIntosh Trail. Did we not fund the McIntosh Trail either, at all?
No.
And do we have, was there no contract right there? That was fine, we were advised that, we need a contract for any service.
Or a line item budget as we had requested.
I think the question was, why was it more? So if over the last couple of years, it was always 75,000, and for last year, we asked for 78, and we asked in the letter to replace the furniture that are in the front office, in the lobby.
Right.
But then I think last week when we spoke, Mr. Sanford said we needed to get a contract or agreement drawn up for the counseling center as well, so we were taking.
No, you asked if one was required, and I said that's a good question, and Jason, I don't know if we need,
But
I mean,
that
would be
too
county
also
attorney.
serves people outside of Upson County. The counseling center also serves people from outside of Upson County, is that correct?
We have 6 counseling centers in 7 counties. And the only county that we don't have a counseling center in is Pike County, and Pike County residents go to Spalding County. So
Yeah.
Upson County is pretty much.
Do y'all receive funds from any other counties like y'all requesting from
Yes.
those?
Yes, we do.
And I think the issue from that submission also was just a lack of detail. It had just been approved at the same amount every year, and then when we got into the joint projects meeting, there was an inquiry, because what sparked the question was the increase. Well, then the answer for the increase was a few $1,000s in furniture, and then the next question was, well, what's the rest of it for? And it's the same issue. It's just a
Even the base 75,000, even though it had been requested
and approved in previous years.
There's no detail
There's no
of
detail.
what you're going to spend the
So-
75 on.
And maybe Jason, you have some historical experience with CSP, James Jackson. It seems like if not every county has one, but every county takes advantage, uses these resources. It seems like to me there'd be like with the VA, a PAC or something like that, that we would pay to, and we would be divvied out our portion based on caseload or population.
Contract services.
Yeah.
They're contract service, they're not a state agency.
CSPs.
And prior to 1993, it was the state entity that operated similar to a lot different.
Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, a lot what you'll find typically is, or my experience has been, we've provided space, but never direct line item funding. So I think in some instances that it's usually a lot of the contributions are in kind; they're not necessarily monetary. So
Your primary source of funding is Medicaid?
It's from the state. The Department of Behavioral Health is our main. Over 50% of the funding comes from there. because our clients that we serve, most of them are indigent and have no insurance.
Well, just one last comment. I mean, I would say moving forward, just since we're all here, I know us collectively, whenever we receive budgets, and especially with increases, we like to see the details of everything and how it's broken out. So just moving forward, I would say, just be aware of that.
So we got a little work left to do. I mean, we're all ready to do it. We just need those agreements, contracts, line item budgets, and whatever we gotta do to shake the tree. Thank y'all. All right.
Are they here?
So,
You want to go around? Sure.
we got two left to do, right? Defects and library. Is he bringing one in?
Hi.
Hello, how are you? Where should I be? Up here in the front?
Be wherever you shall want to be.
All right.
Well, you ain't got to stand up.
I can actually sit down?
You want to grab that seat right there?
Okay, great. So everything else was, well, I'll get this. but-
Either one is
I'm
fine.
break the light.
So with you having, obviously, to socially distance in the hallway and had not
Yes.
had the ability to see what other people were going through, we put the hatchets away for when people walk in.
Gee, thank you, I appreciate that.
So basically, we're just taking the opportunity with what we call our major budgets, this year specifically when we're really struggling to get a grasp on where we are as a county from a revenue standpoint. And that's revenues that come directly to us or come from the state or the federal government. We just, we're in receipt of your request. And since we were scheduling other folks to come, we know that you're a jointly funded project with the city. Obviously, with social distancing, we figured while we had everyone, while we were doing budgets, we would just let you go ahead and present to the commission.
Okay.
It will require to be approved by commission and council, and we will meet and do that. But I thought it'd be a good opportunity for you to share some of the reasons for your request, maybe some of the challenges that you're facing, especially in light of everything that's happened this year.
Yes.
And I know we're dealing with a lot of the same things. So basically just your opportunity to go over your budget in summary,
Okay.
cover any of the highlights that you think that the commission ought to be aware of, and then just an opportunity for them to ask questions.
Okay. First off, I'll tell you, I put this in the letter, but I will tell you a little bit about what we have been doing. We were closed for 6 weeks because that was, everyone had to shut down. But before we closed the libraries down, we turned up our Wi-Fi so that it reached outside the building into the parking lot. And we saw a couple times I digged out and about, and I could see folks hunched over their little cell phones in the parking lot, or they were sitting on the back porch, or they were in the cars. So they were doing that. We have increased our programming virtually. We're not going to be able to have an in-person summer reading program this year because at the time we needed to sign all the contracts about the performers. We didn't know if we would be open or not. We had no idea what was going to happen. So we're doing everything virtually, and it is very popular right now. I know a lot of folks have been tuning in. We're doing something where we're creating little craft bags for the kids. So if the children come into the library, they can get one of those, and some of those we're having make-along programs where you can watch the virtual program whenever it's convenient for you, and then you can make your craft along with the person giving the program. I also increased our purchasing of ebooks with the materials money that we had left for until June 30th. And the ebook usage has gone through the roof. Obviously, we couldn't do too much about letting people check books out because we were closed, but folks have been reading a whole lot of ebooks and e-audio books, and also e-magazines too, for that matter. So I am thrilled about that, so folks are still reading. The Upson Library just reopened Monday to actually let the public in. They've been open since May for curbside service. And we were letting people come up. You could call and make a reservation. You could place an order for books. We would fill out an order. We would go ahead and check it out to you. And then you could pick a time for when you wanted to arrive, and we would take the items out to your car. We were also letting you bring items to be copied, and we were also letting you do print jobs. You could email us the information that you wanted to print, and we would print it out and have it ready to go. And we were also doing faxes as well for people. So we really were providing curbside service. Other than that, I know today we had 54 people come in the library in Thompson, which I thought was fantastic considering we've been closed so long, and a lot of folks got out of the habit of coming to the library. So I was thrilled to see folks coming back in. Right now we have a time limit for 20 minutes. I'm hoping to increase that, but I did want to start on the conservative side, and then we can increase that as we go along. And I can pull out, you have the amount that I'm requesting. And I will tell you that one of the things we are facing right now is, like every other agency that receives state funding, we have been asked to cut our budget by 14%. And I know right now the Senate is proposing 11%, so the Senate and the House will have to meet and I guess duke it out over that, over where they're going to land. I'm assuming it's going to be somewhere in the middle, but I don't know. And what that 14% does, the way the state library has arranged it for us, is that we're going to lose all of our materials money that we get from the state. The materials money is what we use to purchase books, DVDs, magazines, ebooks, all of that, anything that we purchase for the public to check out and it circulates. We're going to lose all that money for this year. And that's usually a big chunk of money from the state, maybe $25,000, $30,000. And then I have a part-time position that I'm going to be unable to fill. And I'd much rather be that way than being able to terminate someone, because I hate to have to terminate someone. So that position will stay frozen until we can get the money back from the state. And I'm hoping that soon, well, not within the next year or so. I hope things turn around. I don't know if it will, but I certainly hope it does. Do any of y'all have questions for me that I can answer?
No, but I do need to visit the library because I ain't been in one since I was in school.
My goodness, yes, you do. And we were also issuing digital library cards. We were doing that while we were closed so that you could at least check out ebooks. But yes, you should stop by and get a library card. You can check out anything. Through our Pines system, if you would come in and you wanted a book that we didn't have, but it was available in Bainbridge, or if it was available, say, in Athens, then we could put out a request for it, and we could usually get it for you within a week or two. And it was perfectly free, and then when you get done with it, you bring it back to us, and we'll put it back into the system, and it'll go back up to Athens or Bainbridge or Rome or wherever we borrowed it from. And they can do the same with us. We'll send them whatever books we have that they need. It's a very nice system.
I like to ask you a question.
Yes.
I have a set of World Book encyclopedias that are 40 years old. What can I do with all that room in the garbage?
You know, there are a lot of people making furniture out of, and I'm serious, and it's actually very cool looking, it really is. But for an encyclopedia World Book, something like that that's mass produced, I hate to tell you, but there's really nothing that you can get for it.
If I could just give them away, if they'll take them, I'd be fine. But I just didn't want to throw them in the garbage.
I understand, I do. But there really are some folks that are making some beautiful furniture out of books like that. Looks very nice. I'd love to get some in the library.
New hobby for you.
I got enough.
All right. No, I mean, you've given us a great update and some good info.
And I wouldn't have dared ask for an increase this year. Because with the budget climate the way it is, and the state's giving a 14% budget cut, and I've been waiting for that to be passed on. I'm truly hoping y'all don't decide to cut the library. But because what little materials money we are going to have this year is going to be coming from our local sources, from our cities and our counties.
Chairman Allen, may I ask just one question? If we applied, so we're asking pretty much countywide, when we get into our budget process, which will September, and obviously we're January 1 fiscal year, we're asking people to submit something that represents a 5% reduction. If we apply that same 5% reduction to your budget beginning January 1, can you briefly tell me what the impacts might be? Is that strictly just materials?
That is where I would take it out of first, because I really don't want to reduce anyone's hours, and I don't want to reduce operational hours if it can be avoided. But that is where it would come from, and I would take it out of our materials budget.
Okay, which is, I don't have the details.
I can actually tell you what it is.
In my vote, for some reason, I don't know why, but.
Well, that's because I gave you all the whole budget, the whole budget request. But that $7,000 I take out of our budget and I turn it into materials money. $6,300 of that goes towards the Hightower Library, and $700 of that goes towards the Yatesville Library.
Okay.
So that is where I would take the budget cut from.
Okay.
Obviously, that's a discussion we have to have with the council. And I don't know what kind of budget guidance they're giving their folks yet, or even if they have, so, and thank you.
All right.
All right.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
DFAX here?
Yeah.
Okay. DFAX.
We got rid of the Dewey Decimal System, so I wouldn't know what.
Oh, no, we didn't either. We still have to do a decimal system. Yeah, we sure do.
We'll put consecutive use of Dewey Decimal.
Yes, I love the Dewey Decimal System.
We said one. See, she was asking you to make her some furniture.
She could use it.
Go out to Vegas Pawn Stars and see how much you get. Probably cost you more to transport.
Yeah. This is the best one.
Yes.
Okay, well.
Hey!
Thank you for your patience.
Yes, thank you.
Sure. I sat in my car for a little bit, so my phone was gonna die. We're good.
So your last up, just, I'll give my spiel one more time, Mr. Chairman, if that's okay. So we're taking the opportunity to meet with every submitter this year for what we call our mid-year budget request. Because of the situation we find ourselves in, county revenue, state revenue, obviously we're looking for ways we can trim, we can reduce, we can cut. We're giving everyone the opportunity to present what they have submitted, what the request is, talk about where you feel your challenges are, or maybe answer some questions from the board if they have any. And then, again, just share any thoughts or feelings or anything you would like to highlight as far as what you submit to us.
Okay.
And actually, I think at the beginning I may have covered a little bit of it, but about what specifically the $40,000 request is, but I'll let you take it.
Sure, I'll speak on that and be glad to answer any questions you'll have. I'm Beth Ballard, I'm the County Director of Upton County DFAX. I'm also interim County Director in Pike. If you know everybody in Pike County, what you need anything with. But this is the budget that's been in place since before I came on. I've been the director for 3 years now. So as you know, we're facing a 14%, maybe 11%, but probably a 14% budget cut at the state level. So that's going to affect us a lot. Fortunately, we're not going to hopefully have to lay anybody off. We are facing furloughs, a lot of county office closures across the state. Fortunately, Upson County is not on that list to be losing a county office, and we're very thankful for that. But we are going to be focusing a lot on employee retention, employee morale, because we won't be able to hire anybody that we lose for the foreseeable future. But primarily what the money from the county pays for through UCBOC County DFACS is foster child expenses. So foster parents get a daily per diem for children in their care, and then there are certain things, a little bit of money for clothing, things like that that are paid for through state money. But most of the rest of that stuff comes from this money. So car seats, diapers and wipes, school expenses like pictures and field trips, extracurricular activities, additional clothing allowance, because what they get from the state is very minimal, and we certainly want our children to be have the things that they need, just like anybody else's child, my own child, your children. The funds also pay for some staff development and appreciation activities, occasional travel expenses for staff that's not covered, what would be covered under state funds. We do have some funds that go for general assistance, so that might be a situation like if we have a family that's at risk of losing their children to foster care because of housing concerns, we might be able to assist with a utility bill or help somebody get a bed for their child, something like that, to try to prevent a child from coming into foster care. There's a lot of things at the state level that are looking at being cut as far as services go for children who have needs or have experienced trauma. And so these county funds can help us kind of fill in those gaps that we aren't really sure what those gaps are going to look like yet, since that budget at the state level hasn't been approved with the legislature yet. Yeah, that's kind of an overview. I laid it out a little more specifically in my letter that I presented. But if y'all have any questions, I'll be glad to answer that for you.
I think you spelled it out pretty good. I mean, the thing that jumped out at us early on was we budgeted $40,000, but we rarely come close to even that amount. So I guess my question is, if you applied that same psychologically, you had to take a cut, how much would you cut that 40 to and still feel comfortable?
Well, I will. That's hard. It's hard to know. We've got around 60 kids in foster care right now. That 60, and that's down for us. We've
Is that just Upson County?
I'm sorry.
Is that just Upson County?
That's just Upson County. I've seen closer to 100 in the last several years, but through some policy changes and just really hard work, we've gotten kids either returned home or into custody of relatives or adopted. But that number does, certainly has the potential to go back up, especially, as families are under a lot of pressure right now, just like everybody else.
In all fairness, you don't have to answer that question tonight. It's just more think about it and get with Mr. Wayne.
Because it looks like that, 2015 looks like a pretty, 2015 and 2017, basically roughly $18,000 of the $40,000 is all that's been spent. And, obviously it's nice to have that savings there, but.
We are on a reimbursement, so if we don't spend the $40,000, it stays with the, right. So, we are, I try to be very mindful of what we pay for, but I do expect there will be more things that we may need to come out of county funds for due to the cuts at the state level going into this next fiscal year. I wish I could give you a better answer, but it's just a lot of unknowns for us right now.
And I'm just wondering, $20,000. I mean, and I understand that you don't know because the state's cut, but understand we got to be physically responsible also to cut. I mean, we don't need this to be a fallback to state cuts.
Right.
Because if we did that with every department we did with receive state funds, our budget would probably double. So, I guess go back to his question. I mean, in the strongest years, revenue's $18,000. I mean, it's not to say you got that 40 there, but for budget purposes, we need to tighten that up. If year after year, it's not being utilized, and we're allocating too much, even though it's not being used.
Do you see, since this virus and people have been out of work, you're having to maybe spend a little more money to help people?
It's kind of interesting. I think we're going to see a lot more of that as things kind of get back a little bit more towards normal. We have had a lot less reports coming in, so reports of abuse and neglect. Now, there isn't abuse and neglect going on because the school's out. You know, the schools are our major reporting source, so we don't have them seeing kids to tell us, this child's got a mark on his face, or this child said, his daddy hit his mama last night. We don't have that right now. And unfortunately, what's going on. We just don't see it. So I think when things, I think we're going to be cleaning up a good bit of what's going on that we don't see right now as we get back towards a little bit more towards what we're used to, normalcy.
You didn't spend much money last year, so I don't mind spending money on foster kids. Everybody needs a hand up. So.
How are we doing on board membership?
We have 5 members, which is, one of those is newer.
We always struggle to find
Right, and
people who fit the criteria.
Right.
So,
and I think we're supposed to have 5 to 7, so we do have 5 now, which is good. We meet every other month, and sometimes it's kind of a struggle to get everybody there to have quorum. But we are, really glad to have 5 people now, and I think we've got some really good people on our board who really advocate for us and advocate for children and families in our community.
great, that's good to hear. All right. Thank you, members.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sorry.
That's okay. No, you're gonna make me. I appreciate it. I'll take care.
Oh, did you? Let's rush on the hallway. Is
Thanks, man.
anything generally about what was presented, or again, Wayne and I's goal is to get. And my thought as your manager was, aside from not cutting the Department of Health, what I was looking at was to apply the same amount of austerity to everyone that's admitted that we're going to apply to our own.
Right.
But before I went ahead and made that statement, I wanted you to see, each department's dealing with something unique. And then I think in the case of the district attorney, as far as their IT stuff, again, something that the state used to fund that they no longer fund. And what do we do? I mean, obviously we're going to do it, but unless I get any, I guess, additional guidance, my thought was that we bring it back to your approval with, 5% cuts applied to them, because I didn't necessarily, as staff, within my individual conversations with them or in their presentations to you or your interaction with them, see anything that might prevent me from, that has changed my mind about recommending it. With the simple fact that I just don't think that any cuts to the Department of Health at this stage are warranted at the state level or the local level. So aside from that, Wayne and I, we've gone back and forth about how to handle that, and I really actually like the format this time. So that you got to really kind of interact with them and see where they all stand. So I would just ask the board if you have any guidance for finance or for management, just let us know what it is. Otherwise, I would recommend that we just apply a 5% cut, and I would ask you all to approve this.
Squeeze the limit where you can.
Yeah.
There's obviously some places that, it's going to be very hard to do. And as far as what I'd like to see is going forward, lessons learned tonight. Just have them as we go through this process with our internally and with the city and county jointly, having to stick to the maybe a little historical data. what the challenges and their needs are and how that's related to the budget. And Ms. Weather's presentation was.
That was my fear, that it would be that good.
I mean, something along those lines to kind of keep. Other than that, anybody else have any comments for the process?
No. And my other recommendation would be pending approval of the agreement with the Gilmore Center, that we would apply a 5% cut to that. And I had talked to the city manager about that we were pursuing that with the rest of the county departments. Again, I don't think they've given their city departments that type of guidance yet. I didn't ask them whether they intended to.
Okay. All right, we'll move on.
Thank you, Mr.
Item F, discussion and approval of the county's property liability and workers' compensation.
Mr. Chairman, Joanne is actually here. Do you mind if
You invited?
he asked to come, so he
Sure.
Yeah.
He can travel from.
Yep. Oh, and, and that's for executive session.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go through the presentation.
Joanne,
You all ready? How you doing? Hey, Jason. Tee this one up for us.
Sure. So what Mr. Chairman, what you see in your packet, obviously you got presentations from Association of County Commissioners of Georgia and from McGriff, our broker who currently has the business with the county. We took the RFP analysis approach to this, and we did a points allocation based on 5 different criteria, and I'll quickly go over those with you. We allocated 55% of the total points to the actual cost, which we awarded ACCG all 55 points for that, because they were the lowest cost solution. And then we applied the difference in increase and actually reduced McGriff's submission by that amount, which was roughly 6%, which, so when the 55 total points for ACCG, which was the max, 52 for McGriff on cost. For key staff and qualifications, unequivocally, we felt like giving both firms maximum points was appropriate, as McGriff has had the business here for probably close to a decade or approaching that, for all accounts from staff, high levels of customer service. I have a ton of experience working with the association and their level of qualifications and customer service. So both maximum points were given there, which was 20 each. The third category, ability to address the needs of the county, including understanding of county operations. We give the ACCG the nod there, because that is their business, is county operations, and that's full stop. Obviously, our experience with McGriff has been extremely high, so we gave them a 9 out of 10. For reputation and references, we gave them both 10. And then we applied a 5% local preference, which ACCG would get 0 for that, and then obviously McGriff as the broker for travelers would get the full 5%, and that total to ACCG with a total of 95 points, and McGriff with a total of 96. So based on how we've established RFP type reviews in the past, we've generally allocated points for local preference. That put sort of McGriff over the edge by a point. So we ended up making the staff recommendation based on the points evaluation. If you go to page 2 of your executive summary, you'll see what the cost differences are. And obviously we annualize ACCGs because their renewal dates don't exactly match up with McGriff's, but you're looking at roughly a total of 478,695 versus McGriff's proposal for the same coverage at 507,039. So as you can see, we recommended option 2, which is highest points total to the evaluation factors. The
Anybody have any questions? Jason? Okay. Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve McGriff for the property and liability along with the workman comp. And, you know, my analysis of this was to not only to look at the cost. Obviously, cost is a big factor in any decisions that we, you know, do. But in my opinion, with our, you know, current provider bringing us an option within 5%, having that local presence, and, you know, based on staff comments of their service. That's my motion tonight.
Okay, I have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll say.
Okay. Motion made and seconded to approve the staff's recommendation, option 2, which is McGriff Travelers. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none. Jason?
Caught me off guard there. I forgot I was doing double duty.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Commissioner Watson,
No, there we go.
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder,
Yes.
Chairman Allen.
Yes.
That was a refreshing.
We appreciate your efforts and looking into this and providing us some options. And it's good information as we go forward. So.
Well, we certainly appreciate the opportunity to give you a quote. And like Jason said, we're the county association for all 159 counties. If you need anything, please give us a call.
We've had nothing but a great relationship
Good.
with y'all, and expect nothing less.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir. Okay. So we have executive session on tonight, and the reason for executive session is the personnel and real estate
And litigation.
So coming out of executive session, Bridge, there will be no votes or anything like that. So what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and get into the comments, starting with Jason. Yeah,
Our census numbers are still tracking well. We released those to, I think, Bridge and the press today. So we're still right around 25th in the state. So kudos to us. A few of our districts are lacking compared to others. And the only other item I have, Mr. Chairman, is if the board would consider, rather than having our work session the first Wednesday, if I would respectfully request if we could have it the second Wednesday.
We could do
The
the first
8th is-
Wednesday if we go to Myrtle Beach with you, right?
Well,
How about the first Thursday?
Maybe I could remote in.
So, is July 8th?
or any other day that week.
Is July 8th? okay?
July 8th. And that is still a week before our first July meeting.
Right, our first meeting in July is the 14th. Is that okay? Work with everyone? We've got a lot to do, so.
I'm good July the 8th.
Okay, all right. Mr. English, you have anything for us?
No comment, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Mr. Evans?
Nothing tonight.
I just want to mention to the people that are at home watching, if we still have an audience, please don't get careless with the COVID-19 because it is still alive and well, and make sure that you follow the safety guidelines because it's still there in its presence.
Absolutely.
That's all I have.
Mr. Watson?
No comment.
Mr. Jones?
The only thing I want to kind of follow up on, and I know which district is kind of slack. So all you people that may be listening or get it in the newspaper or whatever, the 3rd district is a little bit slow, but we're going to come on strong. So everybody make sure you get counted because that helps the whole county, not just people that want the money. So,
Okay. Well, I've got something I want to say, and I actually wrote it down so I could make sure that I hit the highlights on this, so just bear with me. And this is for us, but it just kind of summarizes something that's been on my mind. Last week, we experienced another win for our community as Chick-fil-A opened their business. They currently employ over 90 people, a large number of our young adults and students. The work experience these people are gaining is invaluable. Not only have we gained a new partner in workforce development, but we, as we can tell by the lines outside the restaurant, what proves to be another example of positive economic growth for Thomaston and Upton County. Chick-fil-A and other businesses that opened their doors in this past year, as well as Renew Industries, are prime examples of the positive growth we can experience when we as a community work together and don't allow stovepipe mentality to stand in the way of what's needed to make projects happen. It doesn't matter to me who makes it happen, nor should it matter who takes the credit for this success. What matters is that we are working together as one community. County, city, IDA, and private investors and groups are all needed to ensure our sustained positive growth. Everyone and every government entity should share in the goals and successes. I'm looking forward, I'm challenging this board and our counterparts with the City of Thomaston and our development authority to dig in our heels and lean forward as we tackle lingering issues that impede or simply slow us down. As stated in 2016, I will remain committed to building a brighter future and foster the building of positive relationships. That was my message. That was my message again in 2020, and I reaffirm this commitment. I appreciate every member of this board and staff, as well as others I serve alongside with. I want to challenge everyone to continue to work together with a positive spirit and commit to a common goal. I know you all join me in looking forward to getting things done. Time to kick it in gear. With that, I have nothing else. Jessica, you're still online. We hope you're feeling well, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
yes, please.
Is there, so at this point, we'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We're in executive session. Thank you.
Can we go ahead and grab?
Can I take a break?
Want to take a 2-minute?
Yeah.
Hey, Rick.
The camera's on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got the options.
Hey, Jessica,
Yeah.
can we cut the feed for executive session?
Yeah.
All right, will you do that?
Yes. I'm waiting on Brent to let me know that the YouTube has been cut.
Okay, will you let us know, please?
I will.